Hello and welcome back to Crafts Go Bloom. Today I'm going to be doing a tutorial for you on how to make this Black Panther amigurumi or plushie pattern. And for this one I am using some gold eyes so that we get that classic like true panther look, and I'm using a safety nose as well because that's just how I think a regular panther looks, where it just has that glossy nose and eyes and you can't really see any of the other features because it's usually hiding somewhere. And then we've got the long tail. So let's take a look at our supplies for today. To make that particular panther, I used Bernat blanket in the color Coal. However, you can't see these stitches very well on camera because of the black yarn. So for today's panther, I'm going to be using a Bernat Ogo color in a dark gray shade. The last supply we're going to need is stuffing. I use polyfill stuffing and I buy it in large boxes, so I have it sitting just off camera, but you will need stuffing to fill your project near the end. Other supplies that I have are the safety eyes and backs that go on them, and I am going to be using 12mm safety eyes today. I've got a pair of scissors, a 6mm crochet hook, my tapestry needle, and my stitch marker. To start off, we're going to make a magic ring, and I do that by wrapping the yarn around my first 3 fingers and pinching it with my thumb, and then wrapping the yarn across the back of my hand and grabbing it with my pinky. Now I'm going to take my crochet hook and grab that second loop, twist it, and pull the yarn through on my pinky. If you've never done that before, it's very confusing, and I would definitely rewind and watch this until you have it down. I do it so fast now that I have to purposely slow myself down for a video. I try really hard to go as slow as I can, but now I can just do it without looking, without thinking about it. So if you're new to it, just keep practicing. I promise it gets better. For round 1, we're going to do 6 single crochets inside of this magic ring. And then pull your tail to close that. You just want to pull it tight enough to close it. You don't want to pull it too hard because you can snap your yarn depending on what kind of yarn you're working with. And then place that stitch marker in the last stitch. For round 2, we're going to increase in every stitch around, and an increase just means that you're going to do 2 single crochets into the same stitch, and that will give us a total of 12 stitches. For round 3, we're going to increase in the first stitch and then only do 1 single crochet in the next stitch. And we're going to repeat that pattern around 6 different times for a total of 18 stitches. For round 4, we're going to increase and then do 2 single crochets and repeat that pattern around 6 times for a total of 24 stitches. Now that I'm done with round 4, my project is starting to look like a little cup or a bowl. We're going to pop that out. The tail of the magic ring is always on the inside of your project. And for round 5, we're going to start by single crocheting 15, and then I will meet you back here and we'll work on the ears together. Now that I have those 15 single crochets done, we're going to make the first ear by doing a double crochet, triple crochet, and double crochet all into the same stitch. And a triple crochet, treble crochet, I use those terms interchangeably. Next, we're going to single crochet 6. And then we're going to repeat that same thing for the ear. We're going to do a double, triple, and double all into the same stitch. For that last stitch, we're going to remove our stitch marker and we're going to go into the back loops only for 1 single crochet. And then replace our stitch marker. For round 6, we're going to single crochet in the back loops only for 15 stitches, and I'll meet you back here when we get to the ear, and we'll talk about what we're going to do about that. After you do the 15 stitches in the back loops only, we're going to flip this over and look for 2 of these bars that are back behind the treble crochet. Sometimes I can stick my hook in there very easily like that, and sometimes I have to use my fingernail and actually push the stitch on there. It just depends on how tightly I crocheted while I was working on that ear. And we're going to do a single crochet in that. Then do 6 single crochets in between these ears in the back loops only. And you're going behind the ear and just pretending that it's not there. So you single crocheted up to it, and then you're going to skip the 3 stitches and go to the next one on the other side of it. And we're going to do the same thing on the second ear. We're going to go in the back and we're going to find 2 loops that are behind the bottom of that center stitch, and that's the treble. So see, I'm having trouble with the treble getting my stitch on my hook here. So I just have to work that in there. And there we go. And then for that last stitch, remember we're skipping the 3. We're not doing anything in the front here. And we're going around that ear, and then that last stitch we're going through both loops for a regular single crochet. For round 7, go ahead and do 24 single crochets all the way around, total of 24 stitches, and I'll meet you back here. For round 8, we're going to single crochet 4. And then we're going to do a bobble stitch for the first foot. And I work my bobble stitches until I have 5 loops on my hook. And then we're going to single crochet 4. Do 1 more bobble for that second front foot. And then finish out the round with 14 single crochets. For rounds 9 and 10, we're just going to single crochet 24 around for a total of 24 stitches. So make sure you're doing this twice around for rounds 9 and 10, and I'll meet you back here with those completed. For round 11, we're going to start by single crocheting 4, and then we're going to start making the bobbles for the back feet. Now, I'm going to single crochet 4, put a bobble here, and then I'm going to single crochet 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then if I put my second bobble here, I think that looks a little bit crooked. So I think I'm actually going to put 5 stitches in between my 2 bobbles, just to really get them to kind of line up. And I can see that these 2 bobbles are going to be a little wider in the back than they are in the front, but I'm okay with that. I don't want to be so rigidly stuck to the pattern that they look like this and then they're both off. So the most important thing here is that you just have 24 stitches when you get to the end of the round. It doesn't matter if you put your bobble here or over here, as long as at the end you can count 24 and you've got 2 feet that look lined up to the front feet, you're in good shape. So let's go ahead and finish out this round. Now because I'm putting 5 stitches in between the leg, that means I've done 4, 5, and now 10 stitches, so I have 14 left in my round. So I'm going to put my bobble here, and then I'm going to have 13 single crochets to get back to the stitch marker, where I had 14 single crochets to get back to the stitch marker when I did the round with the front feet. So just keep an eye on what you have left, and if you've got a stitch marker, you're going to be okay. I'm going to do 1 more bobble for the second foot, and then just single crochet around to your stitch marker. Now we're going to take a break, pull out that working yarn, and let's get the eyes and the nose placed. I recently bought some of these safety noses, and I'm liking how they look on things like this where I don't want to, either I don't want to sew on a nose, or I don't think that a nose is going to look the best out of yarn. I think the panther needs a smooth, shiny nose. And I'm going to start by putting this in the very center of my magic ring, and then we'll double check and make sure that's actually where I want it and where I like it. And for the eyes, I usually go straight down from the ear between rounds 2 and 3, and they are about 3 stitches apart. Sometimes 4, it just depends on what you're doing. Alright, let's see how that looks. That looks crooked. So this is why we don't immediately make the eyes permanent. And we wiggle them around a little bit. There we go, that's looking a lot better. It's a lot straighter. And I also wait until I've got my feet and my ears done, and I can check and see if I think it's straight compared to everything, not just getting this far and then putting the eyes on and hoping that my ears end up in the same spot, or in the correct spots. So I'll go ahead and get these backs put on the eyes. If you're new to safety eyes, just going to push the backing down until it clicks. That's my nose, so I'm going to leave that alone. And we're done with our face. Now remember, I'm making this one in gray today because the stitches show up better than the black. So if you're doing this how I would intend to do the pattern, I would definitely use some gold glitter eyes or any other color you'd like. Black would even look nice even on the black yarn. I know that this kind of all blends into one thing on camera, but in person you can really see the definition in these. And so these would be my favorite color choices here. But this one, as you can see, you can tell the different stitches a lot nicer than you can see the black on camera. For round 12, single crochet 24 stitches around for a total of 24, and I will meet you back here. For round 13, we're going to do an invisible decrease and then 2 single crochets, and we're going to repeat that pattern 6 times for a total of 18 stitches. And if you're not familiar with how to do an invisible decrease, what we're going to do is put your hook through the front loops only of the next 2 stitches, and then finish out a single crochet, and that's your invisible decrease. And then the rest of the pattern that you're repeating is just 2 more regular single crochets. For round 14, we're going to do an invisible decrease and then 1 single crochet, and repeat that pattern around 6 times for a total of 12 stitches. Next up, we're going to pull out that working yarn and add our stuffing. For round 15, we're going to do 6 invisible decrease slip stitches, and you're going to do exactly what it sounds like. You're going to start that invisible decrease, then you're going to pull your yarn through all of them just like a slip stitch. And the reason I do that is so that it makes the back of the project nice and flat, because I'm not trying to get it to come to a point at all. And if you need to add any more stuffing, go ahead and do that whenever you need to, and whenever you have enough stitches to hold in the extra stuffing that you still need. For round 16, it's not really a round, but it is working on the tail, and we're going to start by chaining 7. I'm going to skip that first chain on the hook and do 2 single crochets in the second chain from the hook. And I'm going to do 2 single crochets in the third chain from the hook. And then I'm just going to do 1 single crochet in all of the remaining chains. When I finish single crocheting back down the chain, I'm going to slip stitch into the stitch that I just came out of, and then I'm going to chain 1 just to finish off and cut a long tail. Go ahead and pull that tail through, and thread it onto a tapestry needle. Now to close up that hole at the back, I'm going to sew through or weave through the front loops only of that last round. And then when I, whoops, sorry, I bumped the camera. And then when I get to the top here, I'm going to go through these stitches and then pull that tight to close it up. And then I like to go back in the pattern, in the project, excuse me, and pull this through down here, and then I go through the loops of about a round's worth of stitches. That's what I usually do. Depends on how long I cut my tail. Making sure that when you pull your yarn through right here, that you're just pulling it tight enough to pull the yarn in and lay flat. You're not trying to pull it so that I can see it at the very end. If you're not careful and you pull that too tight, you will have a bit of a weird line wherever you did pull it through. So here we're just going to pull it until it's nice and flat. And then I'm going to go ahead and cut that. And that is it, guys. We finished our panther. And remember, we did this one in gray so that we could see it better on the camera. But I really love making this black panther with the gold eyes, and I love how it has that longer tail. Leave a comment, let me know what color you ended up making yours in. Make sure you're subscribed if you want to see more tutorials, and I also do videos on my market vlogs and everything that I've crocheted in the month, and I have quite a few patterns coming out in the next year, so make sure you're subscribed for that. And I will see you in the next video. Bye!